The film begins with Chris Wilton, an Irish tennis player who arrives in London to apply for a job as a coach at a prestigious club. He sits with the club manager, presents his experience and everything he knows about tennis, and the manager agrees to hire him. Chris then goes to settle into the house where he'll be staying in London. He feels the rent is too high, but the realtor tells him, "This is London. If you don't like the price, move somewhere else." Chris, needing the job, agrees. The next day, Chris begins training at the club. The head coach introduces him to a young man from an upper-class family named Tom Hute, who loves tennis and wants private lesson. The coach tells Chris he'd be the perfect instructor for Tom. Chris starts training Tom, and after the session, they head to the cafe for a drink and chat. During their conversation, Tom discovers that Chris enjoys opera and invites him to join his family for a performance that evening. Chris hesitates, saying he might be an imposition, but Tom insists, and Chris agrees. That evening, both dressed elegantly, Tom and Chris attend the opera. There, Tom introduces him to his family, his father, mother, and his sister Chloe, who seems to be instantly smitten with Chris, adjusting her hair to attract his attention. They watch the show together. Afterward, Tom thanks Chris for the flowers he brought for the family, saying they appreciate such gestures. He tells him that they like him and that he's smart. Chris replies that they're a classy family, and he enjoyed spending time with them, especially Chloe. Tom welcomes this and invites Chris to join them at their countryside estate, and Chris agrees, happy to get closer to the family. At the estate, there's a tennis court where Chris continues training Tom, but Tom gets bored and asks Chloe to take over. Chloe is thrilled because she likes Chris, so she goes to train with him. Tom compliments her style, saying she could become a pro with some effort. After practice, Chloe and Chris sit down to have a drink and chat. They agree they should meet again, and there are clear signs of mutual attraction. After their conversation, Chris heads inside and hears someone at the ping-pong table. He finds Nola, whom he compliments, saying she's the most beautiful woman he's ever seen. Through the conversation, he learns she's American and a struggling actress. As they talk, Tom enters and tells Chris he was just about to introduce him to his fiancée, Nola. She then leaves them. Tom tells Chris that Nola is still unknown as an actress and that his mother disapproves of the relationship, but he's insisted because he loves her. Chris listens silently. It's clear he has developed feelings for Nola too. Later, Tom and Chloe go out together and confess their love for each other at the cinema. Their relationship deepens. Chloe later talks to her father about getting Chris a job in the family business, telling him Chris is ambitious and hardworking. Her mother objects, saying Chloe is rushing into things. She also points out that it's enough that Tom is involved with someone she doesn't like. Now both sibling, but Chloe insists, and her father agrees. She rushes to the restaurant to tell Chris the good news. At first, he says he's not interested in business and has never thought about working in that field, but eventually agrees. While they're talking, Tom and Nola join them for dinner. They chat and Chris learns more about their personalities, ambitions, and behaviors. Chris then starts his new job and meets his colleagues who warmly welcome him. After work, he returns home, and Chloe tells him they must celebrate. He's now officially part of the company, and she believes he'll surpass everyone in time. Chris says he's happy too and wants to celebrate with her. However, Chloe tells him that Tom and Nola are going to the cinema that night and invited them, but she turned it down to spend time with Chris alone. Chris is visibly disappointed. He wants to see Nola. He convinces Chloe it'll be more fun to go, and she agrees. When they arrive, only Tom is there. He tells them that Nola had a migraine and couldn't come. Chris is clearly upset. One day, Chris is out shopping for clothes when he runs into Nola by chance. She tells him she's nervous and on the verge of a breakdown because she has an audition in 10 minutes. Her manager was supposed to go with her but canceled, so she's going alone. Chris offers to accompany her to ease her stress. She agrees, and he waits for her outside. When she comes out, she looks upset. She tells him the audition went terribly. Even though she practiced a lot at home, it was terrifying in front of the panel. Chris reassures her that she'll succeed eventually if she keeps trying. He suggests they grab a drink to help her relax and regroup. They go to a cafe, and Nola starts talking about her sister Linda, saying she's more beautiful and gets more roles, but her life is a mess due to drugs. Chris tells her he's sure she, Nola, is far more beautiful. Nola then talks about Tom's family. His mother disapproves of the relationship because she wants him to marry a cousin. She asks Chris about his relationship with Chloe. He says he's not sure the family would approve of him, but Nola disagrees, saying they love him and would agree to a marriage proposal immediately. Then they leave together. The next day, everyone is at the estate enjoying a day of hunting, horseback riding, and shooting. Afterward, they return home and Tom's mother begins speaking to Nola about her acting career, telling her she's achieved nothing, chasing an illusion, and that as time goes on and she grows older, no one will want her. She continues belittling Nola, which upsets her. So Nola walks away, saying she wants to be alone for a while, and heads out for a walk in heavy rain. At that moment, Chris is standing by the window and sees her. He rushes after her, tells her he's worried and that she shouldn't be outside in such a storm. Soon after, Chris confesses his love for her. Nola tells him she loves him too, and their relationship deepens. Later, they're all attending the opera. Nola steps outside to take a phone call, and Chris follows her. He asks why she's been avoiding him ever since what happened. Nola tells him she feels guilty and considers what happened just a fleeting mistake that won't happen again. As time passes, Chris begins to distance himself from Nola. At a party, after everyone has had too much to drink, Tom's mother approaches Chris and asks when he'll marry Chloe. Chloe is embarrassed and walks away with her mother. Then, Tom's father tells Chris his wife is right and invites him to officially join the family by marrying Chloe. He tells Chris that everyone would be happy about it, even Tom, and he shouldn't worry about financial matters. Chris agrees and marries Chloe. Sometime into the marriage, Chris is training with Tom as usual and notices Tom is distracted. When he asks what's wrong, Tom tells him he broke up with Nola because he met a girl from a more respectable family, someone more suitable, and that he's fallen in love with her and plans to marry her. Shortly after, Tom marries the new girl. From then on, Chris becomes obsessed with finding Nola, neglecting his wife. Problems arise between him and Chloe, especially since she wants to have children. While Chris is consumed with his search for Nola, one day, he sees her by chance at a shopping center while he's out with Chloe. He tells Chloe he needs to make a phone call, then runs after Nola and tells her how much he missed her. He asks for her number. As they're talking, Chloe approaches and greets Nola casually. Chris had already gotten the number. From then on, a secret affair begins between Chris and Nola. He starts visiting her regularly at her place. One day, while he's with the family, she calls and tells him she's pregnant. Chris is shocked. He wasn't prepared for such news. He urges her to get an abortion, but she refuses and insists on keeping the baby. After the call, Chloe becomes suspicious. She asks Chris if he hates her now because she hasn't gotten pregnant yet. He tells her, of course not, that he loves her and has never cheated. But Nola starts calling him constantly at work, on his mobile, and even the landline at Chloe's house where the whole family lives. Things start spiraling out of control. Chris feels threatened, so he lies and tells Nola he loves her, not his wife. Nola demands he divorce Chloe and marry her, but Chris keeps delaying and avoiding her calls. One day, Nola surprises him by showing up outside his workplace. She threatens to tell Chloe everything. Chris calms her down and gets her into his car before anyone notices. He takes her home and tries to calm her again, saying he just needs time to sort everything out. Nola tells him she won't wait any longer. If he doesn't tell Chloe, she will. Chris promises to handle it. But what Chris does next isn't what Nola expects. He goes to the storage facility owned by Chloe's father, takes a shotgun, and hides it in his office bag. He begins executing his plan. First, he returns home and tells Chloe he booked them theater tickets for the next day. She's surprised since this isn't something Chris usually does, but he says it's because he knows she loves plays. Then, he calls Nola and tells her he wants to meet the next day after work to talk through a solution. Nola is overjoyed. Chris goes to the apartment of Nola's elderly neighbor, pretending to be a friend of Nola's, and asks to check the TV signal because he's having problems with his own. The woman lets him in, but he sneaks into another room, assembles the gun, and shoots her dead. He shows signs of regret but follows through. He steals her jewelry and sedatives to make it look like a robbery. He then waits until Nola comes up in the elevator. As she steps out, he shoots her too. After killing Nola, Chris runs to the street and calls Chloe, telling her he's on his way to the theater and won't be late. He cries, overcome with guilt, but goes to the show with Chloe anyway, tears still in his eyes. The next day, the police begin investigating. They find the jewelry and sedatives missing and assume it was a robbery gone wrong. They believe the old woman resisted, so the killer shot her. Nola must have seen him and was killed to cover up the crime. The story spreads through the media. The family mourns Nola's death, and Chris pretends to be shocked as well. He uses the opportunity to hide the gun and clean up all traces of the crime. Later, Chloe tells him she's finally pregnant. The entire family celebrates the news, but then Chris gets a call from the police for questioning. Before going, he throws the stolen jewelry and belongings into the river, but one ring hits the railing and falls to the ground, not the water. At the police station, Chris denies knowing Nola, but the investigator shocks him by presenting her diary, which mentions his name several times. Chris realizes he's cornered, so he admits to having an affair, but denies any involvement in her murder, saying he couldn't reveal the affair without destroying his life. The investigators are divided. Detective Mike suspects Chris and insists he had motive. The other detective says motive isn't enough. They need evidence. One night, Chris dreams of Nola appearing and telling him to prepare to pay for what he did. He responds that it was the only way and he had no choice. Then the old neighbor woman appears and tells him she didn't deserve this. At the same time, Detective Mike wakes from a dream in which Chris is the killer. He rushes to report it, but finds out the case is closed. A man involved in a separate shooting in the same area was found dead with the missing ring and the sedatives in his possession. The case is ruled solved. Sometime later, Chloe gives birth to a boy they named Taryn. The family celebrates, unaware of what truly happened. As for Chris, he celebrates too, but deep down, he knows that even if he hasn't been caught, he'll pay for what he did one day. And that's how the film ends. If you enjoyed the film, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video so you never miss our latest upload.